Among the many problems we have is the organized child kidnapping ring that's operating not only in Nebraska, but also in Washington, D.C. And I'll start with the Finders case. This is not an official document cover. This is something that one of my technicians put together. But the Finders case began on February 5th, 1987. And on that occasion, the Tallahassee Police Department received a phone call, and the caller stated that there were two men, well-dressed men, and 6 young children who were in the park in Tallahassee. And this anonymous phone call, you see it there, 2 well-dressed men wearing suits. The police proceeded to the location. They found these 2 men there near a 1980 blue Dodge bearing Virginia license so-and-so, the inside of which was later described as foul-smelling, filled with maps, books, letters, with a mattress situated in the rear of the van which appeared as if it were used as a bed. The overall appearance of the van gave the impression that all 8 persons were living in it. The children were covered with insect bites, were very dirty. Most of the children were not wearing underwear, and all the children had not been bathed in many days. The men were arrested and charged with multiple counts of child abuse and lodged in the Leon County Jail. Once in custody, the men were somewhat evasive in their answers to the police regarding the children, and stated only that they both were the children's teachers and that all were en route to Mexico to establish a school for brilliant children. The children tentatively were identified as Mary Houlihan, white female, age 7, Max Livingston, and white male, age 6, and so on. The next child, age 4, the next child, age 3, the next child, age 2, and age 2, obviously related to Mary. The children initially indicated that they lived in tents in a commune in the Washington, D.C. area and were going to Mexico to go to a school for smart kids. The office contacted, this is the customs agent, by the way, this is the report of investigation, Department of the Treasury, this is an official report that was given to me. This office and the customs agent, who's a good guy, okay, contacted the office of the RAC D.C., that's District of Columbia, and spoke with agent so-and-so, Bob Harold. This agent requested telephone numbers and names of police persons in area departments that might be aware of said activities described by the children, and to follow up on the leads, which were the Virginia license number and a check of the men's names with local law enforcement. The police, upon interviewing the children, the officers found that they could not adequately identify themselves or their custodians. Further, they stated that they were en route to Mexico to attend a school for smart kids. And Agent Keitlow was further advised that the children were unaware of the functions and the purpose of telephones, television, and toilets, and that the children had stated they were not allowed to live indoors and were only given food as a reward. This continues with the report. They were, this office, the customs agent, was contacted by Jim Bradley with the Metropolitan Police Department and related to a case that currently is working in the Washington, D.C. area. He said the actions of the 2 men in custody relative to the children just might give his case enough probable cause to search, for search warrants to search premises occupied by cult groups called the Finders. The report goes on. After receiving the request from Tallahassee Police, requested I conduct computer checks on the Custom Child Pornography Unit database. The checks were to be conducted in the names, addresses, and vehicles provided. After conducting the computer checks, I made direct contact with Agent so-and-so and informed him that all the checks were negative. At that time, I was informed that the Tallahassee Police had discovered large quantities of records to include computer disks and a U.S. passport in the van. From some of these records, the police had obtained tentative identification of the 2 adults and partial identification of the children. Furthermore, the 2 Washington, D.C. addresses had been discovered through these documents one of which was verified through the vehicle registration. I advised Agent so-and-so I was leaving headquarters and he would be receiving a response to the remainder of his request from Agent so-and-so. I then left the state as stated and proceeded to conduct further business in the district. A short time later, at approximately 11:30 a.m., Agent Harold contacted me by radio and advised me that a Detective Bradley, Metropolitan Police, Washington, D.C., was interested in the information provided by Kreitlow, was in contact with Tallahassee and would very probably be conducting search warrants in the area later in the day. He also informed me that U.S. Customs was invited to participate due to the continuing possibility of violations of law enforcement by the Customs Service. As I was already in Washington, I terminated my other business and proceeded to make contact with Detective Bradley of the Metropolitan Police Department. Upon contacting Detective Bradley, learned that he had initiated an investigation on the two addresses provided by the Tallahassee Police during December of '86. An informant had given him information regarding a cult known as the Finders, operating various businesses out of a warehouse located at 1307 4th Street Northeast, and were supposed to be housing children at 3918 and 3920 W Street Northwest. The information was specific in describing blood rituals and sex orgies involving children and an as-yet unsolved murder in which the Finders may be involved. With the information provided by the informant, Detective Bradley was able to match some of the children in Tallahassee with names of children known alleged to be in the custody of the Finders. Further, Bradley was able to match the tentative ID of the adults with known members of the Finders. I stood by while Bradley consulted with U.S. Attorney Benner and obtained search warrants for the two premises. I advised Acting Agent Holloran of my intention to accompany the Metropolitan Police Department on the execution of the warrants. Received his permission and was joined by so-and-so. During the execution of the warrants at 3918 and 20 W Street, I was able to observe and access the entire building. I saw large quantities of children's clothing and toys. The clothing consisted of diapers and clothes in the toddler to preschool range. No children were found on the premises. There were several subjects on the premises. Only one was deemed to be connected with the Finders. The rest were renting living space from this individual. He was identified as Stuart Miles Silverstone, so-and-so, passport number so-and-so. He located in a room occupied with several computers, printers, and numerous documents. Cursory examination of the documents revealed detailed instructions for obtaining children for unspecified purposes. The instructions included the impregnation of female members of the community known as Finders, purchasing children, trading, and kidnapping. There were telex messages using MCI account numbers between a computer terminal believed to be located in the same room and others located across the country and in foreign locations. One such telex specifically ordered, pardon me, thank you, one such telex specifically ordered the purchase of 2 children in Hong Kong to be arranged through a contact in the Chinese embassy there. Another telex expressed an interest in bank secrecy situations. Other documents identified interest in high-tech transfers to the United Kingdom, numerous properties under the control of the Finders, a keen interest in terrorism, explosives, and the evasion of law enforcement. Also found in the computer room was a detailed summary of the events surrounding the arrest and taking into custody the 2 adults and 6 children in Tallahassee, Florida on the previous night. There were also a set of instructions which appeared to be broadcast via a computer network which advised participants to move the children and keep them moving through different jurisdictions and instructions on how to avoid police attention. That would indicate to me they had other children in the location, and after they were apprehended, they figured it might lead back to this location, and so they moved children out of there. One of the residents was identified as a Chinese national. Due to the telex discovered referencing the Chinese embassy in Hong Kong, he was fully identified for future reference. There were, during the search warrant, there were extremely large quantities of documents and computer equipment at the warehouse. The Metropolitan Police was posting officers inside the building. They were sealing the building until morning, in which a second warrant for that premise would be obtained and executed. Agent Harold also advised me that the news media had been notified and had been waiting for execution of the warrant on the 4th Street address. Did anybody remember reading about this in the newspapers? Okay. you're going to find out that this is news. This is major news. And I'll tell you on the last page. Talking about controlling the press, ladies and gentlemen, believe me. I met Detective Bradley at the warehouse, granted limited access to the premises. I was able to observe numerous documents which described explicit sexual conduct between the members of the community known as the Finders. I also saw a large collection of photographs of unidentified persons. Some of the photographs were nudes believed to be members of the Finders. There were numerous photos of children, some nude, at least one of which was a photo of a child on display and appearing to accent the child's genitals. I was also able to examine a very small amount of the photographs at this time. However, one of the officers presented me with a photo album for my review. The album contained a series of photos of adults and children dressed in white sheets participating in a blood ritual. The ritual centered around the execution of at least 2 goats. The photos portrayed the execution, disembowelment, skinning, and dismemberment of the goats at the hands of the children. This included the removal of the testes of the male goat, the discovery of a female goat's womb, and the baby goats inside the womb, and the presentation of a goat's head to one of the children. Further inspection of the premises disclosed numerous files relating to activities of the organization in different parts of the world. Locations I observed are as follows: London, Germany, the Bahamas, Japan, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Africa, Costa Rica, and Europe. There was also a file identified as Palestinian. Other files were identified by member name or project name, the project appearing to be operated for commercial purposes under front names for the Finders. There was one file entitled Pentagon Break-In, and others which referred to members operating in foreign countries. Not observed by me, but related by the Metropolitan Police Department, were intelligence files on private families not related to the Finders. That means they're gathering information on people not involved with the Finders. I have been told by Satanists that if a pedophile or a practicing Satanist wants a blue-eyed, blonde-haired child, they can actually give an order out, and they will get 5 or 6 pictures of a blue-eyed, blonde-haired child, and they'll pick out the child they want, and then they go kidnap that child. The process undertaken appears to have been a systematic response to a local newspaper advertisement for babysitters, tutors, etc. A member of the Finders would respond and gather as much information as possible about the habits, identity, occupation, etc. of the family. The use to which this information was to be put is still unknown. There was also a large amount of data collected on various child care organizations. The warehouse contained a large library, 2 kitchens, sauna, hot tub, and a video room. The video room seems to be set up as an indoctrination center. It also appeared that the organization had the capability to produce its own videos. There were what appeared to be training areas for children and what appeared to be an altar set up in a residential area of the warehouse. Many jars of urine and feces were located in the area. I should also mention that both premises were equipped with satellite dish antennas. I discussed the course of action to be taken by the Metropolitan Police Department. Detective Bradley stated he was only interested in making the child abuse cases. I was assured that all of the evidence would be available to the U.S. Customs for furtherance of any investigative criminal action pursued. Metropolitan Police personnel were to begin around-the-clock review and sorting of the evidence until completed. The Customs will have access after this is accomplished. This will include several U.S. passports discovered during the search. Again, we're still talking about an official report, U.S. government. It's right up there. On April 2nd, 1987, I arrived at the Metropolitan Police Department at approximately 9 a.m. Detective Bradley was not available. I spoke with a third party who was willing to discuss the case with me on a strictly off-the-record basis. I was advised that all the passport data had been turned over to the State Department for their investigation. The State Department, in turn, advised the Metropolitan Police that all travel and use of the passports by the holders of the passports was within the law and no action would be taken. This included travel to Moscow, North Korea, and North Vietnam from the late 1950s to the mid-1970s. Weren't we at war during that period with these people? And I think travel was forbidden in those days, right? When you're at war with the country. This individual further advised me of circumstances which indicated that the investigation into the activity of the Finders, watch this, look at this, had become a CIA internal matter. The Metropolitan Police report has been classified secret. It was not available for review. I was advised that the FBI had withdrawn from the investigation several weeks prior, and that the FBI Foreign Counterintelligence Division, that's headquarters, by the way, had directed the Metropolitan Police Department not to advise FBI Washington Field Office, that's the field division in Washington, D.C., of anything that had transpired. No further information will be available. No further action will be taken.